Thank you, Celeste. We're going to shift, as it were, into transportation now. And to lead that panel and to introduce the panelists, please welcome from Transportation for America, Vice President and Technical Assistant, Beth Osborne.
Hi, everybody. I'm going to have my panel come on out and join me. We have Mayor Carvalho from the County of Kauai. We have Ford Fuchigami with the Department of Transportation in Hawaii. And Joelle Simonpietri with the University of Hawaii. Welcome, everybody. Nice to be here with you. I wanted to kick off the panel by talking about something that I've personally observed from working in energy and environment since the mid to late 90s. We put an incredible focus on bringing emissions down in the industry and increasing efficiency. When I first started, I realized there was a group of people in energy environment that are kind of gadget people. They're the people that see that innovation and invention can create a gadget, an item that will work more efficiently. And then there were the regulatory folks that recognized that the proper regulatory environment would create greater efficiency in a system. And we've had great impact from those two groups. The gadget folks have created better air conditioning units, better batteries, better light bulbs, better windows, things that keep our emissions down. The regulatory folks have created environments that have really generated much more efficient systems within manufacturing and within the utility sector. And if you look at a graph of what's happened in energy, particularly from the utility sector and power plants, you will see a consistent improvement in their emissions and an increase in their efficiency in spite of increases in population, in spite of growing economies. They have consistently brought their emissions down and their efficiency up. And at the same time, if you look at a graph of the transportation sector, you see a consistent movement up in terms of emissions. We're going in the exact wrong direction in transportation. And it's going to take the same level of focus that we've had with utilities and the power plant sector in transportation in order to address this. In fact, transportation as a whole has now overtaken power plants as the bigger emitter, which is why I love this panel. Because in transportation, there are so many inputs into the system, it's going to be even more complicated to address it than it was the utility sector. Not that we're done there. It's going to take focus at the national level, the state level, and the local level, and it's going to require great collaboration between them. So we have representatives from each of those levels with us today who are going to talk about what they're working on within their scope. And we're going to start right here, I guess, with Mayor Carvalho, talking about what he's working on in Kauai. And I'd like to point out the local governments have such an enormous role to play here in terms of development policy, transportation policy, and their own runnings of government. And with that, I will turn it over to you.
Yes, I just want to say aloha to everybody from the island of the county of Kauai and Nihau. With the time that we have, I just wanted to jump right into some of the key projects that are already either completed. Our $8 million Hardy Street project, transform our walkable, bikeable, complete streets, safe routes to school, lighted crosswalks, connectivity, all of it. And this particular area, the heartbeat of Kauai is Lihui. So we wanted to start there. So Hardy Street is done, $8 million project, working very closely with Brother Ford down there and some of our key leaders here on Oahu with the State Department of Transportation. And so we have a roundabout now right adjacent to a school. We're encouraging walking school buses and all that, so that's done. The next one is a $3.5 million project that we already started. It's on Puhi Road in an industrial area, transforming it into concrete versus just asphalt. We incorporated some features of complete streets with sidewalks and all of that. So I've got to make it clear that it's not everywhere on the island or wherever you're at that you need to incorporate, as far as I'm concerned. You got to go by what fits that particular area of your island. And I see Mayor Arakawa there. We've been talking story a lot. Maui County, Hawaii Island, Oahu. All of us have our own charming character. We're trying to do what we can. Converting all of every single bus stop on our island will have a bus shelter, period. We have the funding. We're moving forward. We just did the blessing for another 18. We have another 20 or so going the next go round. So that's with LED lighting. Every single bus stop will have a bus shelter. That was one of the bigger ones. So, and that particular project is moving forward. And then we got a $13.8 million Tiger grant. So that we have to work with our federal people, Secretary Fox and his people, working with our state, with Ford folks again, getting all the relationships strong and moving forward. At our county level, working closely internally, breaking down silos, planning, working with parks working with trans working with housing, where everybody working together, not afraid of all this other stuff that happens. That's the only way to get things moving. So the Tiger grant, we already moved at the state level. We got approved at the federal level. So that grant is transforming Rice Street. Again, if you look at Hardy Street, we have medians, we have trees, we have all these different features, but the emotional side sometimes takes over, and so a lot of the people, it takes time for them to understand and go through this transition. So the Rice Street side would not have the medians, but it will have bike lanes, it would have turnouts, it would have colored walkways, it would have the connectivity that qualifies for the funding that makes it work. So whatever works for each other. Then the last thing, because I know my timing, we have our Kealahele-Makalai Coastal Path, a 16-mile round trip, 8 miles one way, along the coast, walk, bike, stroll. We have a marathon coming up. You're all invited on Saturday to Kauai at Kapaa Beach Park. We have 1,053 people signed up, and this is just a day to enjoy each other's company, HMSA, Kaiser Permanente, all the different partners working together. Get Fit Kauai is another one. The last thing, the only way this thing will work, folks, is partnership. Coordination, cooperation, collaboration, breaking down silos, asking questions, not making big chests, but inviting. Not making like this, but making like this. Let's work it and move. I'm telling you, we're moving in this transformation of our island statewide. It's all of us. We're not too small, we're not too big, we're just right. It doesn't matter of our size, it matters the energy and the flow of what is happening. So I'm very proud of that. The team members, Ben Sullivan over there, a lot of our team members working closely internally, externally. But the bottom line, we're moving right on with our Tiger grant that we just got. Secretary Fox supposed to come in August. We'll see how that goes. But it's just that working ability to connect and bridge. And I just want to talk about some of the key projects that we have right now. Done.
Thank you. I have to say, I used to run the Tiger program. I ran the first five rounds of it.
Okay.
And I love our Tiger grantees. It's a real compliment to any community that can pull off getting one. It does require a very high level of coordination and innovation.
Last one, please?
Sure.
The last one, we just opened our transformation. We're going to fuel our buses from the methane gas from our landfill. We already did the blessing. The project is moving in Kekaha. The next step, Ben, is to transform and utilize extract the gas to fuel our buses. We will start that soon. Done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Carvalho. I'm going to go right on down the line to Joelle.
Oh, okay. What I wanted to talk about is a little bit at the national level, and but actually just start right off at the state level. So one of the things that we did this morning with the Renewable Transportation Summit was kind of go over some of the big pictures at the state level. So at the state level, one of the calling themes for this conference was 100% clean energy by 2045, right? But that's actually clean electricity by 2045. And electricity is 22% of the petroleum consumed in the state of Hawaii. The other 68% is for transportation, ground, air, and marine. And actually the largest single consumer of petroleum in Hawaii is actually air transportation. Why? Because not a lot of us drive to the mainland from here. Not a lot of us take boats to get to and from Asia. So one of the things we did this morning was, it might even have been a bit of a first, was actually convene stakeholders from across the state who don't normally participate in clean energy dialogue. So we actually had a couple of airline representatives. We had Hawaiian Airlines and Alaska Airlines present. We had marine sector invited. We also had, for the first time, the actual petroleum refineries invited to be in the room. So representatives from Par Petroleum, were with us and spent the entire 4 hours. So that's just an example. It was invitation only just because the room was limited in size to 40 people, and we wanted to make sure that we actually had the key stakeholders. So we had local government, state government, federal government representatives, and then representatives from across industry. What we did this morning was use LiveSift to actually take a vote from the people inside the room. And I apologize, I did actually try and set it up so that all of you would be able to vote too, but with the time and the audio-visual, we ended up, so maybe next year. So basically, took a poll, how many people inside the room this morning thought that the state should have a renewable transportation goal? Over 80% polled yes, the state should have a renewable transportation goal, and it should include air and marine transportation. The second question was, of about 20 different economic drivers to choose, economic policy, social drivers to choose from, which are your top 5? And so that list of 20 ranged from things like science, technology, engineering, and math, to innovation economy, to local economic development, to rescuing agricultural jobs due to the plantation decline, to reducing carbon intensity. And so basically all summed up, climate change and carbon reduction together were as important as all the rest of the factors put together, followed in a close second by innovation and local and rural economic development as kind of the second most important category to consider when setting a transportation goal for the state of Hawaii. Then what we also talked about is what success could look like as far as supply chains to produce renewable fuel for the air and marine sector in Hawaii. What makes sense for a tropical and subtropical area like Hawaii, and what are some best practices from other island nations, or best practices that could be exported to other island nations. And it kind of sort of continuing on the same theme, basically what ends up looking like it's going to be most viable is locally relevant problem-solving techniques. So we had PVT Land talk about how they are basically mining the construction and demolition debris landfill up on the Waianae coast, and are gasifying that to create a renewable gas. They had on each of the islands a different kind of agricultural waste or forestry waste input into a potential biofuel feedstock. And then on the airline side, we had some very good presentations on what kinds of things can be tackled here locally as far as improving aviation fuel efficiency. So some things that can be done at the airports, some things that can be done with flight routes. And then at the national and international level, there is an entire well-organized body called the Commercial Aviation Alternative Fuel Initiative, which just passed its 10-year anniversary and has enormous success for a relatively short period of time. All of the major original equipment manufacturers, Boeing, Airbus, Honeywell, General Electric, so on and so forth, all the airlines, Airports Council International, the Department of Defense, Department of Agriculture, Department of Energy, have all agreed on voluntary goals and a roadmap to both improve aviation efficiency and start to integrate renewables. And so the US's very first renewable jet fuel production plant actually started producing in January, and 100% of their production is going to United Airlines and American Airlines. So every single flight going in and out of Los Angeles Airport today actually is powered in a small part by renewable jet fuel derived from used cooking oil and tallows, fats, and greases. The important part of that is how much rapid technological change and business partnering and policy change can line up when you actually have the will and all the right stakeholders in the room to make it happen. And so that's what we, in a small way, kicked off this morning, trying to bring some of that same kind of energy to the local transportation sector. The last thing I'll say is what not a lot of people know is that if you are able to put in a production system to make a renewable jet fuel, you also get renewable diesel, marine diesel, and gasoline out of it. So you're able to, with one project, one supply chain, actually address all of the transportation sectors. And I think with that, I'll just yield the rest of my time to Director Fuchigami.
Director Fuchigami.
Oh, thank you so much. You know, first of all, Mayor, thanks. Normally when I speak at these kind of things, I get criticized more than anything else, so being complimented is very, very good. It's very refreshing. But, you know, one of the challenges that the Hawaii Department of Transportation has is the fact that we had a difficult time even trying to define what is sustainable transportation. We created a committee, it's called the Sustainable Transportation Forum. We have about 50 different organizations, over 100 members, and when we posed that question to them, we got about 50 different answers. So what we did is that we actually took the low-hanging fruit, which was electricity, kilowatt usage, something that was measurable, and we attacked that. What we did is that we actually entered into what's called an energy savings performance contract with Johnson Controls, who's actually out here today. And what we did is that we issued contracts for our harbor system for high mass lightings to change it to LED lights. It was about a $26.3 million project. It's still going on now. We did the highway system, which was also a $60.3 million project. Again, changing the high pressure sodium lights to LED lights. Those of you who live on Oahu, as you drive around, take a look at the lights as you drive. The orange bulbs are starting to disappear. What you have is white flat lights, which is actually better in terms of illumination. Again, these two projects, the harbors, which save us about 43% in energy, the highways project should save us about 47%. The biggest project that we took on was the airports. It's a $150 million project, okay? When we issued this contract, it was the largest contract issued in the United States when it came to ESPCs. A lot of national companies couldn't, when I say organizations, could not believe that a state like Hawaii would take on such a huge undertaking, considering at that time the average cost for a ESPC was approximately $30 million. But we took it on. And basically what we came up with is that we ended up changing 74,500 light fixtures at our 15 airports. Excuse me, 12. Some of the airports didn't require changing. We went from 690 different light fixtures down to 90. Again, all LED lights. We changed out 372 transformers, and we also made some changes to our chillers. That basically saved us about 49% of our energy bill. The overall savings for the three divisions will be approximately $711 million over the 20-year period that we're under contract with JCI. What this does is that it gives me the ability to take that money and reinvest it into our airport system, which plays such a vital role to the economy of the state of Hawaii. That being said, now that we've tackled the electricity side, we're taking a look at the fuel consumption. We recently installed hydrogen fuel vehicle contract with our common busing. That's with our consolidated car rental facility at Honolulu International Airport. General Osterman will be working with us to come up with a fueling facility. In Maui, we're building a contract there as well. We're actually going to run a tram. We're getting away from fossil fuels. Right now, I have 16 buses running at Honolulu International Airport. When we went to a CONRAC, or a consolidated car rental facility, we really took away maybe about 50 different buses by all these different companies that was running down to 16. Honolulu International Airport was rated 10th. Well, we're the 10th airport under the Airport Council International to be given the accreditation for the airport carbon accreditation. We were only the 10th airport to do so because of the fact that we started removing our carbon footprint. We're now working on preconditioned air so that the airlines no longer have to run auxiliary power. We're looking at ground power so people can plug in, the airlines can plug in. So these are some of the different things that we're trying to achieve in terms of moving forward. We're also running biodiesel fuel, B20, with our WikiWiki shuttles. We have an emergency power facility which should be open in a couple of months. The Hawaiian Electric will be running that with PUC. They have the ability to run it 1,500 hours a year. They're going to be running a B100 in this particular power facility. The power facility will be able to power up 70% of my electricity at the airport, at Honolulu International Airport, should the electricity go down. These are measures that we've taken on because of the fact that we can measure them, because of the fact that we see the reduction in kilowatt usage. Unfortunately, I don't know how to measure when it comes to vehicle traffic, and that's something that the Hawaii Sustainable Transportation Committee is working on right now. But that being said, like I said, I think we've done a lot of wonderful things in the short period of time we have. I truly appreciate that Governor Ige gives me the ability to go ahead and take on these things. One of the most difficult things is pulling the trigger. Why do it today? Why don't you wait till new technology comes out? We can't wait. We need to get started. And having somebody who's so supportive of reducing the fossil fuel consumption in the state of Hawaii is important for us to accomplish our goals. Thank you.
Thank you. Honestly, in this area, we could spend an entire conference talking about nothing but transportation. We've only scratched the surface, and we've talked about fuels, we've talked about facilities, we've talked about the supply chain in order to support renewable fuels, we've talked about the built environment and how that affects how people move around, we've talked about bus fleets and the transportation system, and that's only the beginning. I'm going to go to the folks over at Sidebar and see if we have any questions.
We do. The first one was about how you create conditions to accelerate infrastructure build out for clean fuels and electrification.
Who wants to take that?
Well, maybe I'll try and take that on. Since most of the audience here is local to Hawaii, I'll say that one of the things that came up in this morning's summit is we have to deal with what I'll call the super ferry syndrome, which was basically, an infrastructure, transportation-related project for the state of Hawaii. It involved mode shift, shifting from aviation to marine transportation, which does actually have its own efficiency, and basically ran up against environmental permitting regulations and also social and local acceptance. So part of the reason why the setting the stage that I talked about focuses on locally relevant problem solving is, for example, wastewater treatment is a problem to some. It can be an opportunity when you're talking about a renewable fuel supply chain. And so that is how we want to try and learn from experiences in the past in innovative transportation options for Hawaii, like the unfortunate example of the super ferry.
I think we have time for one more.
Yeah, the other big one we're getting is sort of how you think about equity in building out sustainable transportation systems, in ensuring that communities, all incomes, all types of different franchise communities are included in this vision.
On Kauai, we did our multimodal transportation plan, and so we're moving forward on the North Shore, East and South Shore, creating shuttle services, working closely with the hotels, bring everybody to the table to create this shuttle type of opportunity on Kauai. We're not going to build any rail, okay, you guys? All right. But we're trying to use the bypass roads and some of the old plantation hurricane roads and look at some of those options. But I wanted just to say what's happening today. We're moving forward. When you get down to visit Honolulu one day soon, you're going to get on a shuttle because you're going to park your car in a parking area in Princeville, and you're going to get down to the North Shore via shuttle. The same way in the east side corridor of our area. We're creating, and it's all partnership and working with the hotels and the businesses, and then of course the South Shore. So I think that kind of concept and thinking of getting people out of their cars as soon as can, giving them a choice to walk, bike, stroll, hip, hop, whatever it takes. But the bottom line is collectively working as a team, not only on Kauai, but throughout the state and all branches of government coming together and the business community, because it's about the families and the people that we serve. That's the bottom line. So I think that if we continue to look at it that way, everything will flow in the right direction for Keiki to our kupuna.
And I'm going to close things out by saying that that is a very important question, because the very fact that neighborhoods that are more walkable and more transit served are more expensive is an example of market failure. It means we don't have enough supply to keep up with demand, and we need more people like the folks on this stage that are working to bring us more communities like that. So thank you to my panel.